Hello. Welcome to another HomeTown Daily News Show. My name is Mayor Watt. I put on this show from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. every day over at twitch.tv/ohmTown. If you're listening to this right now, you're already watching, right? Well, if you're watching me do this, you're hearing it at this moment. Otherwise, you're going to have to listen to it later because pardon me. Yeah, I'm falling behind in my submissions to YouTube and the podcast. I only have 4 episodes on the podcast now, and it's 2 months old. Jeez. All because of a glitch in the Matrix. Anyway, on with the show. Like I do with every beginning of the show, I'm going to repeat this. And eventually I'll just let it drop. But I don't have many people catching every single episode. So I don't know really when to stop doing this. And I'm really not out there hustling down people saying, come and listen to me. But if you're here and you're listening, thank you very much. If you find me over at YouTube, thank you very much. If you find me over at the podcast, thank you again. If you do all of them, I'd love to hear from you. Tell me what I'm doing right. Or tell me what I'm doing wrong. In the meantime, let's get on with this show. I've already selected about 20 articles that I think are interesting. I hope you find them interesting too. Again, the way that this works is ohmTown aggregates a bunch of news sources into a single repository. It's broken into 6 main categories: create, news, education, entertainment, social, and technology. And then from there, it's broken down into about 50 channels that I hope to launch over the coming months or years. I don't know how long it'll take. It really depends on how much engagement comes and if people are interested in being a host or co-host. Makes things a little more entertaining when there's more than one person talking about the news. And if there are people in the chat that are willing to discuss things, ask questions, make comments, and so on, that too adds to the level of entertainment, I suppose. Not to mention the thought exchange, the discussion. That all said, let's get into it. The very first episode is a Disney-related article. In the Word and Tech channel, it says Disney Plus is adding a cheaper ad-supported subscription tier later this year. Just in time for inflation to impact everybody, that lower tier is going to come in at I don't know. I guess they haven't really announced it. Hasn't said how much the cheaper the advertisement supported version of the Disney Plus service will be. But the ad-free plan, which costs $8 right now, you know what? I'm expecting it to actually go up. I think it'll get bumped up to $9.99 for an even $100 a year. When the lower tier launches, it'll probably come in at $6.99 or something like that. But let's see if my prediction holds true. This article was written by Shane Gartenberg over at The Verge. No word on how much cheaper it'll be is what is stated in the article. But it says it'll come to the US first before expanding internationally in 2023. It could do, I suppose, what Twitch does and have it regionally priced. That might be an interesting take on the kind of a cost of living adjustment for the service if it's cheaper to operate, remotely. It's interesting, though, with the internet, things should be cheaper, but it seems like not really cheaper, considering I have to pay now for a multitude of channels as well as a service that provides all of a subordinate number of channels that are from the same provider, yet just less. If you understand what I'm saying. Like we get CBS, but then there's a CBS app. You have to pay for that. And we get Paramount, but not really Paramount. It's a subset of whatever is commercially available being broadcast on TV and so on and so forth. Paramount might be the one oddball because it has Star Trek stuff, but the Star Trek stuff that I watch isn't available on TV, but some of it is. It's really weird. They've created this strata of options, and it used to be you just pay for TV. Now I'm paying for a bunch of things. I haven't added it all up yet to see how much I'm actually paying compared to previously. But I know that some people are paying for their cable. It's in the US. I don't know how it all works in other countries, but in the US, if I subscribe to a TV package, it can sometimes be hundreds of dollars just for TV if I want to watch sports. Let's move on. This next article is tiny marine larvae survive by turning carnivorous. I too survive by turning carnivorous. It says some marine worm larvae, so I guess I'm a pint-sized predator. I don't think I'm pint-sized, but I do turn carnivorous. So this is a microzooplankton. I used to run a channel. It was just experimental to see if I could set up the processes to make it happen, but it's actually called Microscope TV, and it's on YouTube, but we never fully launched it because it turns out that chasing down microscopic items like plankton isn't as easy as it sounds. And it sounded easy to me, but you actually need something of a CNC kind of driven mechanical thing to actually monitor the entirety of the plankton and then chase down the item, whatever it is, so that when it went off screen, it could chase it down. Not an easy task, my friends. Well, tiny marine larvae here survive by turning carnivorous is an article written for phys.org by Laurel Hammers for the University of Oregon, or from the University of Oregon. And it says here, the small blobby babies, less than a millimeter long, ensnare and devour microscopic crustaceans and other prey living in plankton. Their observations suggest a new lifestyle option for larval stage invertebrates living in the ocean. I don't know. I've met a few vegetarians that have gone carnivorous because they wanted to survive. I'm one of them, actually. So it says, one of the big surprises is that these nondescript wormlets are very efficiently taking down some of the fastest prey items out there. Pretty interesting, right? And if you're interested in this kind of stuff, then go over to phys.org and do a search for tiny marine larvae survive by turning carnivorous. Or, of course, you can click the link. The next article is in the Mobile channel. And it says, the world just vowed to solve the global plastic problem, and will it work? I don't know about you, but I didn't sign anything yet. I'm not sure about the world vowing to solve the global plastic problem. But it says on Wednesday, 175 United Nations agreed to begin writing a legally binding treaty to address the global plastics pollution crisis by 2024. Decided this week at the biannual session of the United Nations Environment Assembly, the highest level global environmental decision-making body in Nairobi, Kenya. The agreement establishes an aim to create a negotiating committee that will spend the next 2 years developing an instrument on plastic pollution. And that's great. What do you think of that? It's an article written by Audrey Carlton for Motherboard, which is vice.com. Go and check it out. Obviously, pollution in general is a problem. It's interesting the words that were used in this. The world just vowed to solve the global plastic problem. I don't know how many consumers are going to buy into it, so I guess it's going to get mandated from government down. What do you think of that? Let me know. Let me know in chat or tweet or email or post on ohmTown.com. The next article is new geoscientific modeling tool gives more holistic results in predictions. Geoscientific models allow researchers to test potential scenarios with numerical representations of the Earth and relevant systems, from predicting large-scale climate change effects to helping inform land management practices. Let's click this link. Take a look at this. Hey, everybody's wearing a mask in the picture that's on this phys.org article. It's written by Sarah Small, Pennsylvania State University, and the article is titled New Geoscientific Modeling Tool Gives More Holistic Results in Predictions. So you can go and check it out over at phys.org, but it says to address these issues, Shen and other researchers have developed a new model known as differential perimeter. Let me rephrase that. Known as differentiable parameter learning that combines elements of both the traditional process machine learning, or a method that can be applied broadly and lead to more aggregated solutions. And their model, published in Nature Communications, is publicly available for researchers to use. Depending on the actual source, it's actually really expensive for laymen to get access to it. So if you are still in college, or you have access to college materials like this, like research materials, or you are in industry and you have access to these papers, you could probably go and take a look. Otherwise, if you aren't connected in that way, or in the US, you might be able to get, I'm not sure about everywhere else, obviously, but sometimes libraries have access to these research papers, and you can search for them there. Google also sometimes has them, but not always accessible for download. And you only get the abstract when you try and pull these things up sometimes. But it says a common process-based model is an evolutionary algorithm which evolves across many iterations of operating so that it can better tune the parameters. These algorithms, however, are not able to handle large scales or be generalized to other contexts. So their math and their modeling system is different. And it says, likewise, when you apply evolutionary algorithms to an area, let's say to the United States, you'll solve a separate problem for every little piece of land, and there's no communication between them. So there is a lot of effort wasted. So I guess their solution solves that problem. And I don't know, maybe in a nerdy way, I shouldn't even say it like that. In a gamer way, the two aren't necessarily tied together. It's kind of like how Minecraft generation blends now two different regions, so that it isn't so obvious that you're going from one to another, which is kind of interesting to apply one thing like that to something that is perceived as simple as Minecraft, which isn't very simple. The problems are solved together at the same time. The person says, I'm looking for one solution to the entire continent. And when you bring more data points into the workflow, everyone is getting better results. Agree. So go over and take a look at that article. If you are oh so interested, then come on back and talk to me about it. The next article is in the Stock Marketeers channel. And it says it's a section called The Conversation. 6 of 10 community college students never get their degree, and how to address 11 big reasons why that happens. And it says the study contacted over 27,000 former students of 5 large and diverse community colleges in Florida who had left in the prior 4 years without a degree. So what do you think that could be? Why would somebody do that? So let's see. Let's take a look here. Among community college students who drop out, there are a few who are really close to being finished. Nationally, about 10% of all students who leave college without a degree are only a few credits shy of graduation. They are also most likely to re-enroll and graduate. Some colleges are trying to identify former students and persuade them to come back using a variety of methods that include data analytics and discounts on tuition. Using these tools isn't easy. Community college students who leave early rarely tell school administrators why they left. True. And at least in the US, we have this, what amounts to a process called a clearinghouse that allows colleges to find out if somebody has enrolled somewhere else. We in higher education typically have no idea about where somebody ends up employed, unless there's some quasi government private industry information exchange. And we rarely know why somebody leaves college at all. They just kind of disappear, but sometimes they come back and finish what they were intending to do, or at least they might have kind of a resurgence of motivation to come back and complete something. So they identified a bunch of reasons, and number one was costs were too high. Living expenses were also too high, ran out of financial aid, unpredictable schedules, which is why many colleges switched to online. When the pandemic hit, it motivated more colleges to work out that flow of solution. And many colleges are staying with a high number of classes online. Unfortunately, there still is this idea that online education isn't as effective, but I think the data bears out that that's not quite true. But universities, 4-year colleges, they tend to be better at the networking, the social networking aspects. And that is the experience, right? So if you are a student in a 4-year college, you may learn something, but really it's about all of the connections that you make, or the ability to make connections grows stronger when you're at a university, actually anything of higher education. But the better connected you are, the better options you have for employment. Many times, many people find it very valuable to make those social networks bigger during college. Students lacked key information. I can't imagine that being very prominent, but it says about 24% of former students stopped going in part because they were unsure about which courses to take next. And nowadays, every college has, if they don't, then I wouldn't be going to the college. But if any college that you're going to probably has what's typically referred to as a pathway or a plan or something similar to those terms that describes, it enumerates precisely what you need to take to graduate and graduate on time, even with some subtle nuance. Like certain classes are only available during the fall semester. I find this hard to believe, number 5, but it's there, it's enumerated. So that's their data, at least in Florida. Students wrongly thought they had holds placed on their accounts. That's an oddball one. Health emergencies, not too hard to imagine that. Students got a new job or lost their job. Not surprised by that. Math and science courses were too difficult. Yeah, that can actually be a really big problem, particularly in 4-year colleges. They expect more math to complete a bachelor's degree. But community colleges, because community colleges are hyper local, really it's about students not being prepared at the high school level and then struggling at the college level. But they all take tests to get into a certain level of math. And then from there, it's about dedication to the task and learning new methods of learning the data, the information that's being shared. So a lot of people think that the first grade of college is really next grade of high school, and it's not. Students lacked strong connections to campus. Yep, that's pretty true. About 30 years ago, I started a project where I was trying to build kind of like a Greek system, but for community colleges. I wanted to build a better, stronger connection to community colleges, because what happens is everybody turns into a commuter student where they just go there, take the class, go to work, or go there, take the class and go home and take care of family or something else. It isn't something where you're grounded on the community college campus. But I was not a college student. I struck out on my own when I was 17. So, different times, and today it just persists. I was right 30 years ago. I'm still right now. There are no strong connections to a community college other than the hyperlocal location of a community college. And then it says 11 is online coursework and unreliable internet access. That technology divide is going to bite us continually. Depending on your location, you will have horrible internet access. I was talking to somebody earlier today, as a matter of fact, where their entire internet connection was 4G. That's it. That's all they had. So they couldn't do anything of great bandwidth because it was actually staccato. It wouldn't always be operational. It's just impossible. But I've also seen people turn in work via screenshotting it with their phone, taking pictures right there, and then sending it to the professor. Well, this article on MarketWatch goes into greater detail. Feel free to go over there. It's one of those things where I can give some context to this, at least from my perspective. The article is titled 6 of 10 Community College Students Never Get Their Degree, How to Address 11 Big Reasons and Why That Happens. It's written by Benjamin Skinner, Justin Ortegas, and Melvin Tanner. So I know I spent a long time on that, but I actually have subject matter expertise in that area. So let's see if we can make up the time. This is about Weird West. This Tabletop Nights channel article. It says Weird West video shows crimes and consequences. This is getting a lot of hype. Weird West, and I've loved the videos that I've seen involving Weird West. I think it's a game that I'm going to be getting, but it really depends on, I don't know if I'll get it right out of the gate, but it's set to launch on March 31st for PC, PlayStation 4, Xbox One. And the article snippet that's on ohmTown says my goodness. Devolver Digital and Wolfeye Studios released the 4th episode in the Road to Weird West video series. In the latest 90-second video, creative director Raphael Colantonio details the game's consequences system, where players who commit crimes can find themselves arrested or placed under a bounty, while any enemies may seek revenge. On the other side, players will make allies who may show up to help them down the line. So let's click this link and see. If there's a video, I won't play the video. I expect you, I really want you, and I want to motivate you to go over to rpgamer.com. This article is written by Alex Fuller. And click on the link for the video there. It's on YouTube, so you can always do a search for Weird West and watch it there if you don't want to go to rpgamer.com. But Alex Fuller put this article together, and there's more to it than what I said. Not much more. It's really small. It's really all about this video. And if you're watching it on YouTube, then you can just do a search for Weird West. If you've never heard of it, it actually has a really neat art style. I can't really describe it more than that. It just is an interesting concept for a role-playing game. Okay, so this next article is over in Stock Marketeers as well. It says the prospect of more Russian cyber attacks seems increasingly likely. What can you do to protect yourself? ? Quite a lot, it turns out. It says the hacker collective Anonymous said it was stepping up cyber attacks on Russia, and experts say that U.S. consumers should also be on alert. You should always be on alert as a consumer anyway. This article was written by Andrew Keshner. And it says here, oh, by the way, this is a MarketWatch article, and sometimes their headlines change between when my aggregator grabs a headline and a snippet and when they make some edits. So for instance, they started editing this thing on February 28th. That's when it was first published. And then on March 4th, they've augmented this same article. What it was prior to March 4th, I don't know, because they changed the headline, but the URL remains the same. So if let me see, I can search back. This same article, which is currently titled "The Prospect of More Russian Cyber Attacks Seems Increasingly Likely. What can you do to protect yourself?" Quite a lot, it turns out. Used to be the US government is working with businesses to make sure they are ready for a Russian cyber attack, but what can you do about it? Yeah, so between February 28th and March 4th, they've actually changed the title, but not the URL, and they've changed content, but there isn't anything that really explains individually all of the changes. I'm scrolling really fast, so if you're in my chat and you're watching this, I apologize. It's just something that I need to do. But like all MarketWatch articles, they talk about companies and they refer to their ticker numbers. Everything's in the red. So, tech is continuing its slide and then increasing and then slide. It's a rocky world out there for trading. But it says how to protect your information online. Keep an eye out for phishing emails. Watch for suspicious activity. Use multi-step, and two-factor is good enough. You should always be notified in some way when an account is being logged into. Every service should have it. I've had it on ohmTown before, but after some processing of information, I came to the conclusion that regular accounts probably don't need it, but my administration accounts do. So those act differently, and I may institute it across the site wide just to increase to live what I tell people, which is two-factor authentication is better. Don't use passwords. It's no longer effective. Use passphrases. It's much harder to hack those out, particularly with services that don't have time frame limitations. So if you submit a password and it fails, and then you submit another one immediately after and it fails, and you're not locked out, at some point, somebody can guess your weak password. Passphrases are harder, much harder to automate, much harder to penetrate an account with a passphrase. That said, sites should lock you out if you fail too many times, and then you have to seek another method of resetting the password. which would mean you, or as a hacker, if you're a hacker, you would have to compromise an email address typically, or a phone account to gain access to text messages or something. So yeah, pretty tough stuff there. The next article, because I want to catch up to where I should be in this, is the Order of the Grape. 14 of the best cheap bourbons under $50. I think we're all going to need it with what's going on in the world. That's not true. Don't treat what I said as my real. Oh, when you talk about the news and you make these offhand comments, sometimes it gets treated as if I'm really this way. But don't treat alcohol as a crutch. Don't lean on it in stressful times. Casually it's fine, but if you have the leading information is, if you have more than 5 drinks on any given day, you might have a problem, and you should talk to somebody about it. And if you drink more and more and more days, 5 days, then it really is a concern. And don't think that the world isn't noticing it, because people around you are noticing it. So this particular thing is cheap bourbon ain't what it used to be. That's a quote. The quality of entry-level and middle shelf bottles continues to improve, especially as distillers introduce new innovations and with supplies of aged stock also seemingly on the rise. The very nature of what we might consider cheap has also shifted in the category, with $100 plus offerings now becoming commonplace, and certain labels demanding many hundreds, if not thousands, on the secondary market. Let's click this link and see what VinePair has to say about all of this. Tim McCurdy wrote this article. Ariella Basson created the artwork that you see if you're looking at the video. If you're not looking at the video and you're watching or listening to this via the podcast, well, I'm going to make you have to come over to this article because I won't be able to do it justice. Yeah, I'm just going to leave that there. It's an interesting graphic. So what are these quote unquote cheap bourbons to drink in 2022? I don't know if they're in a particular order. Widely available and all clock below $50. 1792 small batch bourbon. Let's see, Buffalo Trace. While it might be entry-level bottling from Buffalo Trace, produced in 1792, the small batch release arrives in a stylish decanter. It is a beautiful bottle, very well lit for this photograph. So, looks pretty, golden. I'd get it. It got a 90 rating, apparently. Burnham Original Kentucky Straight Wheat Whiskey. Again, it's a small batch. I won't go through all of these. Another Buffalo Trace. Elijah Craig is good. I have Elijah Craig. Evan Williams Single Barrel. Four Roses. I was told Four Roses is really good, but I haven't had it. I'm just going to leave it there. This one, George Dickel Bourbon Whiskey, 8 years. Has a really neat, old-timey label. Kind of harkens back to Old West style. But pumped up a notch there. It's pretty cool bottle. I like it. So I'm going to stop right there with that one. And you can go over to VinePair and take another look. I'm going to scroll all the way up. So if you're watching this, close your eyes for a second. Well, it was too late by the time I said that sentence. Well, the next article is over in the Mobile channel. And it says, fingerprint machine learning technique identifies different bacteria in seconds. Bacterial identification can take hours and often longer, precious time when diagnosing infections and selecting appropriate treatments. There may be a quicker, more accurate process, according to researchers at KAIST. I don't know if that's just cased, but let's see, because I've not heard of this, and that's why I clicked on the link. So this article, it's the Korea Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. So this article was written by them, published by phys.org, and it says the results were made available online on January 18th in Biosensors and Bioelectronics. Wow. Ahead of the publication in the journal's April issue. Bacteria-induced illnesses, those caused by direct bacterial infection or by exposure to bacterial toxins, can induce painful symptoms and even lead to death. So, rapid detection of bacteria is crucial. I agree. By using surface-enhanced, it's funny, it's spelled Raman, R-A-M-A-N, not E-N, but by using surface-enhanced Raman spectroscopy, my gosh, why can't I talk anymore? Analysis boosted with a newly proposed deep learning model, we demonstrated a markedly simple, fast, and effective route to classify the signals of two common bacteria and their resident media without any separation procedures. Wow, that is interesting. Says, however, it is challenging to obtain consistent and clear spectra of bacteria due to numerous overlapping peak sources such as proteins and cell walls. Moreover, the next part is a quote. Moreover, strong signals of surrounding media are also enhanced to overwhelm target signals, requiring time-consuming and tedious bacterial separation steps. Well, they apparently learned how to do away with it by using a deep learning model, so probably artificial intelligence, machine learning processes, despite having interfering signals or noise from the media, which make the general shapes of different bacteria spectra and their residing media signals look similar. High classification accuracies of bacteria types and their media were achieved. I guess they probably figured out a way to separate what was the surrounding spectra and isolate the bacterial. Pretty neat stuff there. So if you can turn that around in the field, like emergency rooms and whatnot, identifying bacterial infections would be a piece of cake. Finding them in seconds. Because sometimes you have to go and do like blood cultures and stuff. This next article is in the Order of the Grape, where information, news about wine is processed. As any bargain shopper knows, this is an article that says, as any bargain shopper knows, Costco is the place to go for savings. As of 2020, the big box store became the 5th largest retailer in the world, with storefronts in Canada, Japan, and beyond. But in recent years, the chain has attracted new attention with rumored claims that its French vodka is actually the same as premium vodka brand Grey Goose. Interesting. So let's click this link, take a look at it. So I had not heard of this, but I'm not much in the loop of, these kind of discussions. It says, why the Costco vodka origin myth just won't disappear. That's the title of the article. It's written by Jessica Fields. Ariella Basson made the artwork for the article. So more specifically, the claim isn't that Grey Goose has branded a cheap vodka, but that Costco's vodka is a first-class liquor made by Grey Goose at a cheaper price point. In case you're unfamiliar, there are currently 2 Kirkland brand vodkas available at Costco, the American vodka, which sports a blue label, and the French vodka with a red label. It's also worth noting that the choice of using the red label for the French vodka is distinct from the signature blue color association with Grey Goose. Okay. So is this kind of like what happened with World of Warcraft, where there is no difference? They just changed what the resting state label was. Interesting. So but the blue label is supposedly, like down here it says the color associated with Grey Goose. So is Grey Goose, Is the red one really going to be Grey Goose? I guess somebody needs to go take a sample. So is the substance inside these differently packaged bottles actually the same or poles apart? In a 2016 article from Vice, the internet learned that both Kirkland and Grey Goose craft their vodkas from the same water source, Ginseng Springs in France's Cognac region. That seems to be where the similarities between the two brands end. So, let's see. Oh, yeah. So, Costco says that the French vodka that it has is distilled 5 times, and Grey Goose says it's only distilled once. I guess it depends on how it's distilled, because Grey Goose has a following. So if you want to read more about this, go over to the website vinepair.com. Do a search for why the Costco vodka origin myth just won't disappear. There's always the link. I'll try to stop saying that repeatedly. The next article is in the Word in Tech. Google pauses all ad sales in Russia in light of the extraordinary circumstances. Yep, sanctions are taking effect, and there are rumors of, or maybe not rumors, maybe overt communication at this point that they are actually having an impact and that they don't want any more sanctions. But I would think that until they withdraw from Ukraine, those sanctions are going to stay in place and get ratcheted up. As in light of the extraordinary circumstances, we're pausing Google ad sales in Russia. James Vincent wrote this article for The Verge. It has a neat cover art. The situation is evolving quickly, and we will continue to share updates when appropriate. So we don't know really how long it's going to take. We don't know how long it's going to hurt Google. We don't know how many people it's going to end up hurting ad sales in Russia, where people, just regular Joes like me have a website, and if the ad sales are being frozen, then my site is, generating zero revenue. I'm not in Russia, and I don't have a Russian bank account, so I'm not being impacted by it. But regular Joes who have nothing to do with any of this are going to feel the pinch. That said, the president of Ukraine is saying, Russian citizens need to protest, need to stand up against this, because this is being done in their name. That's kind of how government is. Makes the decision on your behalf. That said, let's continue on. I don't want to get too bogged down in the minutia of this. We know what's going on. I think it's wrong what's going on, but some people are wholeheartedly embracing it. Bulleit creates bottled cocktails. Bulleit Bourbon has released its first ready-to-drink cocktail range comprising a Manhattan and an old-fashioned. I might have to go and get the Manhattan or the old-fashioned. I make my own old-fashions, and you know what? I think they're pretty darn good. Let's click this link and jump right on over to the article, thespiritsbusiness.com. This article is written by Nicola Carruthers. As the bar quality whiskey-based serves were created with the help of bartenders. The expressions have an ABV of 37.5 and come in 375 and 750 milliliter bottles. They are wrapped in either a green or an orange, like full bottle wrap. There's no glass seen. Maybe where the cutouts for the letters are, but those might be solid black and not cutouts. Anyway, it's a neat solution for marketing. That'll stand out on the shelf. I might have to go and see if they're at my local shop. Let's see. Maybe tomorrow, since it's Saturday, I will talk about the old-fashioned Bulleit. What a deal. I'm not sure how much it costs. Oh, only $30 for a 750 milliliter bottle, US dollars. I don't know how much it's going to cost somewhere else if they're exported anywhere else. That said, let's go on to the next article. This is in the Tabletop Nights channel, and it is Dungeon Crawler Potato Flowers in Full Bloom launches on March 10th for Nintendo Switch and PC. It's a Japanese indie RPG. Click the link, take you over to rpgsite.net. And it looks like it's an isometric. So again, let me remind everybody, I don't look at the entirety of the article. I only see a snippet. And so I was curious about this. Potato Flowers in Full Bloom is the name of the RPG. And I thought that it was interesting just on the name. And so it says a demo is currently available for both platforms, and save data from the demo can be transferred over to the full version. So go over to Steam and you can download a demo of Potato Flowers in Full Bloom. It looks like an isometric RPG dungeon crawler. It looks, all I'm looking at is the graphic, but the graphic looks neat. Obviously the graphics are kind of 8-bit, but there's some dedication to the artwork. And I'm not going to play the video. I want you to go over to rpgsite.net and click that link. And then you can come on back and tell me, or even better, go to Steam and download the demo and play it and come and talk to me when you watch this video, if you're not in my chat. It'd be great if somebody in my chat would talk to me. Are you out there? Come and talk to me. It's a first-person dungeon explorer. Gradually expand your range of actions as you delve deeper into the dungeons. The map is procedurally generated as you progress. That's a blast. I love it when something is procedurally generated because it's just infinite replayability. As long as you are cool with the mechanics and everything that's going on, you can play it again and again and again. It's kind of like a roguelite, but not Dark Souls level. Hopefully. So let's go on to the next article. The next article is Stock Marketeers channel. Earnings results. Gap stock shoots higher after retail chain lost less than expected in holidays and predicts growth in 2022. So this article says the Gap Incorporated lost less money than expected in the holiday season and surprisingly beat analysts' expectations, with executives' forecast for 2022 driving shares more than 15% higher in after-hours trading on Thursday. So this is a MarketWatch article. Again, they changed their data as the day progresses. So this was first published on the 3rd and then updated today, this morning, as a matter of fact. So it says, let's see. So Gap is, the ticker is GPS. It reported fourth quarter loss of $16 million or 4 cents a share on sales of $4.53 billion, up from $4.42 billion a year ago in the holiday season. And after adjusting for charges related to changes in its Euro business, the parent company of retail chains, including Old Navy and Banana Republic, reported a loss of 2 cents a share after adjusted earnings of 61 cents a share a year prior. So if you are interested in the possibility of a growth stock, I'm not telling you to go out and buy this, but let's see. It is, well, they're not even saying what it is. So it's somewhere around $16 a share. But they don't have the actual ticker, the live ticker. It just says that it's down 0.79%. Oh no, that's the S&P index. Hold on, let me see. Yeah, I mean, they don't have the real ticker on here, but I'm not going to pull it up because I want to make sure that I get through all of this news. So go look up GPS and then come and talk to me about it. The next article is in the Word in Tech. And it says Amazon closing its brick and mortar bookstores. Well, this kind of came out of nowhere and went back to nowhere. Pop-up locations and 4-star shops are also to shutter as company focuses instead on food, fashion, and retail tech. So let's click this. And this is an article from cbsnews.com. I have not seen much of them from my aggregator, so it was interesting to see this. But it says Seattle-based company said Wednesday that the move, which affects 66 stores in the U.S. and 2 in the U.K., will enable it to concentrate its efforts on Amazon Fresh, Whole Foods Market, its convenience concept called Amazon Go, and its upcoming Amazon Style stores. So I can see why they would do this, that the book side of things and the accoutrement that goes with it doesn't measure up. You know, it's a heavy lift to have all of that going on. But these other things, Amazon Fresh, Whole Foods Market, Amazon Go, Amazon Style, those types of stores are heavy lifting, but they're high touch. People really want to be able to look at and pick up whatever it is that they are getting, particularly clothing. So I'm surprised at the level of, or I should say the volume of people that are purchasing stuff online and never returning it. You would think that business would be just awash with returns, because so many people, if you ever go to a store, you always see people trying stuff on and then it has to get processed again and put back on the shelves, which is kind of a weird thing during a pandemic. But at any rate, it says the store, which will sell women's and men's clothing as well as shoes and other accessories, will open at the Americana at Brand Mall in Glendale. That is a Amazon style store. But the bookstores are all closing down. Opened its first brick and mortar bookstore in 2015, 2 decades after it began selling books online. And I think that the writing is on the wall. Sorry, that wasn't even punny. But anyway, the writing is on the wall for printed books. They really are. I get a lot of blowback from people that tell me, you know, oh my gosh, you know, books, they're going to die. They can't die. You know, I love holding my paperback. I love holding my hardbound book. I love my printed book. I love my printed book. Well, the problem here is you have to carry a finite number of these books, and then the storage and the paper and the ink and the glue and all of the stuff that goes into making a book, to me, doesn't rise to the level that makes me want that book held in my hand. I think it's more destructive for the environment than productive. But the problem here is that I can always print a book, right? Arguably, in a perfect world, if I pay for an ebook, it should be mine and I can print it as long as it's for me, right? The same thing exists for music. If I get a song, I can burn it to a CD, but it's for me and it's my archive, my personal copy. Well, pretty much all of that fell away, and we don't have rights for the stuff we purchase. We own a license that can be revoked. I'll say it again. We own a license for the electronic items we quote unquote own. It's a license, not ownership. You own nothing. It's just a perpetual license that says that you can read this book in perpetuity. Well, it's happened before. It'll happen again that something gets pulled back because of whatever licensing glitch in the matrix caused you to be able to get a book. If it's electronic, if it's printed, you own it. You put it up on a shelf. Nobody can come in and take it off your shelf. So I can carry, though, the world's knowledge on my phone. You can't do that with paper. I've had people walk up to me in conversations about this and say, well, when the power goes out, you can't read your phone. Correct. But you can only read 4 of your books. Even when the power goes out, you have to stand out by moonlight or light a candle and then set the house on fire or whatever. There's all kinds of rationales. I can fire up a generator and power my whole house. There's always some, hemming and hawing that we can do about this. But the reality is that electronic media, to me, is the future, and we can always store a book on something solid state and carry it wherever we want. Thousands upon thousands of books, solid state. We need better licensing. That's key. We need better ways of owning the stuff that we buy electronically. Let's continue. I only have 2 more articles. The next article is in the Mobile channel. This is, if you're watching me on the stream or you're watching me on YouTube, I look down because I have to hit copy paste, and even though I type 115 words a minute, I still have to move my hands from here to hit the right keyboard, or I should say the right keys on the keyboard. So I know it might sound weird or look weird, but I'm actually looking at my keyboard. Anyway, this article here is in the Mobile channel. Electron Ion Collider, a precision tool for studying the glue that binds visible matter. I read this little snippet and I was blown away by it. Okay, so the Electron Ion Collider, the EIC, planned to be built at the U.S. Department of Energy's Brookhaven National Laboratory in partnership with Thomas Jefferson National Accelerator Facility, or the Jefferson Lab, will be the most advanced tool for studying some of the deepest unexplored recesses of the atom. It will peer into protons and neutrons, the building blocks that make up atomic nuclei, providing unprecedented insight into how those particles, internal building blocks, and the glue-like force that holds them together build up the structure of nearly all visible matter in the universe. Okay, so if you didn't listen to all of that, I'll click this link, but it's an article written for phys.org. Brookhaven National Laboratory is the author. And so what they are saying is they want to look at what amounts to the gap between particles at the atomic level to see what is there that's holding physical matter together. Because when you zoom in close enough, which you can't really do optically, you need like a scanning electron microscope. You need something that can look very, very, very small down into the atomic nuclei. And in this particular case, probably something more powerful. I don't even know what it is in its scope. But whatever it is that's holding us together, we aren't actually connected to, right? There's no physical connection when you look at it at the subatomic particles. We are held together by some force. So you can call it, a chemical or an ionic or whatever bond, but it's at the atomic level, it's a completely different weird configuration with space. So there's a lot of space in us. It's just held together because it's so small. So it says, we know that a proton is made up of quarks and a sea of gluons. Those gluons also keep producing quarks and antiquark pairs called sea quarks. So the internal microcosm of a proton is abundantly full. One could assume that this abundance of particles would explain where protons get their mass, but quarks are nearly massless and gluons have no mass. If we add up the masses of the quarks that make up the proton, they account for only 1% of the proton's total mass. So what is the rest of us? I love this stuff. I think that if I could do it all over again, I would have kept my focus on mathematics. I would have kept my focus on programming. I I went a different route, ended up being one of those people referred to as a jack of all trades. And so I have a lot of experience. My lake of knowledge is 10,000 miles in every direction, but only about that deep. So doing this kind of a show, finding this kind of news, learning about this, and then I end up going down a rabbit hole of it, is just fascinating to me. So I really dig doing this kind of thing. So I hope you all get something out of it too. It says, since the 1960s, physicists have known that protons and neutrons, referred to collectively as nucleons, are made up of fundamental particles called quarks bound together by a force resulting from the exchange of gluons, and we call this strong force. The strong force depends on the existence of a different type of charge called the color charge. Unlike electric charge, this comes in two varieties, positive and negative. The strong force seems to have three types called colors: red, blue, and green. Got all that? There's a test at the end. Just kidding. We're going to go on to the last article, which after the previous article, we probably actually need a drink. Again, I'm joking. I don't actually treat alcohol like that. And this is actually, let me make sure that this is right. 1 second. So this article is 4 homebrew recipes from Great American Beer Festival winners. And I'm going to see if this works. It might actually error. Oh, no, it didn't. Okay, good. So this link will take you to the article. It says, are you looking to elevate your homebrew to world-class quality in 2022? 4 medal-winning craft brewers from 2021, Great American Beer Festival, are here to help you reach that lofty goal. So we go over to the Home Brewers Association. Yes, you can brew beer at home. You can't typically, in most states in the U.S., distill at home. And that's because of the likelihood of you blowing up yourself and the neighbor. And if you get caught, it is not a good time. So this, again, is titled 4 Homebrew Recipes from Great American Beer Festival Winners. It's written by Marty Jones and goes into detail about the brewing company, Waypost Brewing Company Saison. Their particular brew is listed here. All you have to do is follow the instructions, do what it tells you to do, basically, and you can make this saison. And Sudwork Brewing Company's the People's Pilsner, and this is their actual product. So if you do it right, you can get their particular product at home. Not bad, right? And it goes into detail about exactly what you need. 70-minute hop, 70-minute hop again, 5-minute hop, 5 minute. Just go through it. And but this is the kind of stuff, the complexity of this is why I'm trending towards getting a beer maker, which is this automated system. But there you go. Okay, you can read the rest of it and go over to that article at homebrewersassociation.org. Or if you do a Google search for 4 homebrew recipes from Great American Beer Festival winners, and you will find this article. I can almost guarantee it. Otherwise, you can click the link that's in chat or go to the YouTube channel. As soon as this gets posted over there, then you'll have the description, and that description will have all the links that we talked about today. But like all shows, I want to remind you that if you go over to ohmTown.com, all you have to do is sign in or sign up, become a citizen of ohmTown. There's also a Discord that you can go to. There's the podcast, ohmTown, and the YouTube channel, ohmTown. All you have to do is go to youtube.com/ohmTown, and it'll take you to 50 episodes, past episodes. I'm going to keep on adding more shows to YouTube, and I'm going to be processing all of the podcast episodes historically. Again, I only have about 30 of them at this point, but when you click the link, you end up with a whole new set of articles. And I see that there is a problem right now on the site, but I will remedy it and go from there. It's been doing these duplications, and it's actually because of caching. Caching is messing all of this up. So apologies with the glitch. We will fix it. I should say I will fix it. And we'll talk to you soon. As a matter of fact, tomorrow, 6 p.m. Thanks for coming.